Hello everyone. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. It was after it's quite some time that we haven't seen each other. Pero I'm glad that I'm back. And for tonight, I have prepared a discussion on the verbal reasoning English. Kung meron tayong early bird awardee, si Sir Marcelo po talaga 'yon. Hello po Sir Marcelo from Zamboanga. Hello po sa mga taga Zamboanga. All right. Some of you are tagging your friends already. Thank you so much. And it's also good that you input where you are at the moment so that mas malalaman ko po kung gaano ka far-reaching yung session natin for tonight. Sige. While waiting for the others, those who are here, can you prepare your test materials for today and for the next Sunday? We will have our checking of your mock test, so we will know how well did you fare in the verbal reasoning tests. All right. So mas maganda if you have the printed copy, but if you have none, then you can refer to your soft copies and check whether your answers are correct or not. Of course, tonight's session is still brought to you by Gurong Pinoy. And medyo malapit-lapit na tayo. The day that will test your soul will eventually come. So sana you do well as you have been preparing for that big day. All right? Sige. So let me check. Oh, I wonder where Pagayan? Pangasinan ba? Pagayan City. I wonder where it is, Ma'am Grace. Magandang gabi po sa kakapasok lang. All right. Sige. So, while waiting for the others, let's not waste our time. I invite everyone to dispose yourselves properly so that we can begin our review session with an invocation. Just keep on keying in the comments section, tagging your friends, keying in your location so that I can make mention of them later on. All right? For those who are Catholics, you may uh, make the sign of the cross as to signify your religion. Lord, we know that you are always with us and you love us. Give us peace of mind as we prepare for this time of study. Help us to focus on the discussion and keep us from all distractions so that we will make the best use of this time that you have made available to us. Give us insight that we may understand what we are studying and help us to remember it when the time comes. Above all, we thank you for the ability to be able to study and for the many gifts and talents that you have bestowed upon us. Help us always to use them in such a way that they honor you and do justice to ourselves and to others. Amen. All right. Sige, let me check. So uh, we have audience from Davao del Norte. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat dyan. Alright. Sige. So keep tagging your friends. I hope they would be able to watch the live session for tonight. And I pray that all of you will be able to benefit from our discussion. So for today, this is the quote for the day. Success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out, according to Robert Collier. And I believe that from day one of the review until tonight, until the next Sunday, everything that you have practiced, everything that you have studied upon, contributed to your small efforts. All the Saturdays and Sundays, attendance in live sessions for review all the individual learning that you have had, contribute to all your efforts so that you become more ready when the big day comes. And I wish all of you good luck. I hope everybody will make it, if not ace it, during the civil service examination. Hello po sa mga Tabuk City, Kalinga. And then from Cotabato to those who are from North Cotabato, Occidental Mindoro, Pangasinan, and Zamboanga. All right? Sige. So once again, get ready with your test materials. Today is checking time. And we will check the first part of the mock test. That's the English part. And it comprises of four areas. We will check your identifying errors part, the grammar and correct usage, the logical organization of ideas, and finally, the reading comprehension part. Some of you may have printed the copy. It's good so that you later on you would know kung gaano nakarami yung check nyo. And of course, get ready with your typing fingers. So I will have to ask you to input again in the comments section your answer. Let's just be more specific about the instruction. Pakikiin na lang po yung test item number so that you will be able to keep track. And those who may be coming in late will be able to benefit as to what answer we gave to the specific item number. All right? Today, we will cover items number 1 until item number, it's English, 33. So hopefully, we will be able to finish all of them. All right? Sige, let's get started. So let's have the identifying errors part first. So our target is to check the structure of the sentence, whether it follows the standard English convention and rule of writing the sentence. And if you spot an error, you have to key in the item number together with the number of the option number. But if there is no error, then key in 5. All right? Number 1. Of the 200 examinees who took the CPA exam last year, only 20 passed and inducted as licensed public accountants. Or 5, no error. What do you think about this sentence? Is this a correctly written sentence or does it contain an error? Please key in your answer in the comments section. Let's see. Parang wala pa yatang answer as I've checked in the comment section. Sige, let me wait a bit. What do you think? Item number 1. Is it examinees? Is it who took? Is it passed and inducted? Or 4, as licensed public accountants? All right. Sige, let me check. It's varied. 2, 3, 5, 1. So, dumarami na yung 3. 1, 2, 3. Competing yung 2 and 3. Alright? Sige. Let's check. Ito na yung verdict. Sige. Let's take a look at the word examinees first. So those who answered option 1, meron ba? Meron, no? Parang isa yata kanina. So, if you answered option 1, this is actually correct. So, 1 is not our answer. When we say examinees, we're talking about people. And one thing that you have to remember is that when you see an of the phrase, it is always followed by a noun in an S form, meaning plural. Of the apples, of the students, of the employees. So it's always the of the phrase is always followed by the plural form of the noun. All right? S form. Let's go to those who say number 2. Medyo marami yung nagsabing number 2. But number 2 is correct. So when we say examinees, of the 200 examinees, so we're talking about examinees, people, and so the use of the word who as a relative pronoun is correct. So the other relative pronouns that and which are used for objects. So for person, we say who. All right? So tama po. And then very specific yung gamit ng, very specific this time, ang time expression. And it says last year. So last year, if there is a specific time expression indicating an action that happened in the past, specific time in the past, then we say simple past tense of the verb. Took is the simple past form of takes or take. All right? So tama. 1 or 2 is correct. Let's go to number 4. So if you answered 4, tama din po. As we say, as licensed public accountants. Why accountants? Because we're talking about examinees. So examinees is in consonance with accountants, which are both plural. All right? So 1, 2, 4, correct. Sad nga. When I check the answers, parang mas marami-rami yung ligwak agad. Number 1 pa lang. Sige. The answer here is number 3. But it shouldn't be have passed. So if you think number 3 is incorrect because it should have been have passed, remember the time expression is last year. So specific, time in the past. And so it should really have been past. So the word past is correct here. Only 20 passed. Okay? Because last year. Sige. The incorrect part is actually inducted. Let me ask why. If we have this question, only 20 passed and inducted. Who passed the exam? So, di ba, yung nag-pass na exam are the examinees. But, who conducted the induction? So, di ba, when you became, I don't know, I think you have different courses. Pero let me point out an example among the teachers kasi mas malapit. Mas alam ko yung nangyayari sa profession ko. So after the taking of the LET, so the teachers gather in an assembly and nag-undergo ng induction. So it's not the examinees who conduct the induction. They were the ones who passed the exam, but somebody else do the induction for them. So, yung mali dito is the inducted. Meron bang nakakaalam? How do we correct this part? So, correct yung past, pero it should have been were inducted because somebody else is conducting the induction for them. And we say were plural because we're talking about the examinees. Very good. Thank you, Ma'am Jo Chris, were inducted. So of the 200 examinees who took the CPA exam last year, only 20 passed and were inducted as licensed public accountants. All right? So, very good sa mga nakakuha ng 3. Those who answered 3. For those who did not make it, you still have 32 items to make it up. All right? Sige. And when we say to be, it's future. It will not be in sync with the word past, which is past tense, simple past tense. So we say were instead, were being the past form of to be verb, of a be verb. Okay? Sige, let's go to number 2. One of the contestants appears nervously as she faces the stern and intimidating panel of judges. Or 5, no error. Magandang gabi po, Sir Armel. Welcome. Kakatapos lang po namin ng number 1, so we are now at number 2. For those who missed item number 1, our answer is 3. It should have been were inducted. What about number 2? Please key in the item number. So 2 dot and your options. So still varied yung answers natin. 1, 2. Wala bang representative si 3? Meron. So si 5 na lang. Alright. But many answered 1. Ma'am Sharina, I can see your comment. Alright. Meron nang nag-answer ng 5. Sige, let's check. Earlier, when I say, when you see the of the phrase, it is always followed by the plural form of the noun. So, if you answered 1, that's actually wrong. All right? So, you say, one of the contestants is correct. You don't say, one of the contestant. But, if you look at the subject is 1. Okay? Our subject here is 1, not the of the phrase. But if you spot anything that is an of the phrase, it is always followed by the plural form of the noun. So contestants, of the contestants is correct. If you answered number 2 appears, it is still correct. Why? The subject here is 1. There's only 1 person. Of the 15 contestants, 1 of them appears. So, number 2 is also correct. Ligbak na naman ba agad? Sige. Sana maka 1 point na, no? Since it's number 2. If you answered 4 faces, it's still correct. The subject is she, as she faces. And the word faces, simple present tense of the verb, is still in consonance in terms of tense with the word appears. Appears is in the present form, simple present form, the same with faces. And we're still talking about 1 person, one of the contestants who is a she. So, 1, 2, and 4 correct. Alright? Meron ba nag-answer ng number 4? Si Ma'am April. Ma'am April, si Ma'am Neng. Ma'am Neng ba or Sir Neng? I don't know. I can't figure out the picture. And Ma'am Katerina. The best answer we have here is 4 actually. And si Ma'am Lelaine, 4. Why 4? Iyak na talaga si Ma'am Ana Regina. So, remember we have different kinds of verbs. We have 2 kinds of verbs. Action. Marami pala tayong kinds of verbs, not 2. You have linking. Linking is, are, was, were, am, all right? And then auxiliary verbs, will, shall, could, might, may. Ano ba? Marami sila. But the most common verb that we encounter are those that signify action, the physical action, like sing, dance, write, drive. But we also have mental actions, but they are still considered action verbs. Mental, think, remember, recall, understand, familiarize. So those are mental verbs. Added to those kinds are what we call sensory verbs, meaning those that refer to the five senses. So when we say verb of sight, we say seem, appear, uh, look, all right? And then we have the word taste for the sense of taste, feel for the for the tactile, smell for the olfactory, and sound for the auditory. So these are what we call sensory verbs. And what does the rule say about sensory verbs? That when we use sensory verbs, it is always they are always followed with adjectives, not adverbs. So, for example, one of the contestants appears, or we can also replace it with the word look or seem. One of the contestants seems nervous. One of the contestants appears happy, not happily. All right. One, she looks happy. She appears beautiful. She seems nervous. All right? Sensory verbs. Sensory verb followed by adjective, not adverb. So the best answer here is 3. Correct. Nervous dapat because it's an adjective. Nervously, ly adverb. All right? So, may tumama ba? 1 out of 2? Let's go to number 3. The general of the army is commended for his valor, integrity, promptness, as well as for being intelligent. Or 5, no error. Congratulations, Ma'am Iris. Very good. What do you think about this statement? How do we write the word army? Should it be is commended? What do you think about the preposition for? Take a look at number 4, for being intelligent. Magbubuhat lang ako ng bangko a little bit. So when I see the variety in the answers, meaning the test items are, the options are are very good. It would have been an easy test item if all of you say it's the answer. But so far, medyo varied yung answers nyo. Walang nakakaalam kung sino ba talaga yung tama dito. Sige. Nakaka-nervyos nga 'pag hindi ka pa naman ba tumama. Mock test na 'to, 'di ba? So, dapat 'pag mock test, it's almost perfect na. Kasi the mock test would somehow dictate how well you will fare in the examination itself. Sige, let's go. So when we say, if you say number 1, medyo hindi naman marami yung nagsabing 1. If you want 1 is your answer, this is incorrect. So by structure, the word army is correct. We only use the word the. You can capitalize the word a, the letter a in army if you attach it with the army. meaning it's the sentence. Omit the general of. So you say, the army, capitalized, the army is commended for blah, blah, blah. And when we say army with a capital letter A, it refers to a distinct entity or distinct group of people. Just for example, the Philippine Army, the US Army, all right? That becomes capitalized. In this case, it's it's it refers to any of the armed forces. So specific general, hence lowercase. So one is correct. We say, if you say two, meron ng tumama. Nagka-dyslexia agad na wala sa oras. If you say two, that's still correct. The general, so how many generals ba yung pinag-uusapan natin? There's only one. So we say is. And we're talking about valor, integrity, promptness, for being intelligent. These are good things that are praised about the general. So he has these qualities, and so publicly he was being affirmed. He was praised for having such qualities. And so we say commended. So to commend means to praise. And remember in our discussion last time, sana na-remember nyo pa, but when we say linking verb plus action verb, it's always linking verb plus past participle form. So we say is commended, is driven, is praised. So linking verb plus past participle form. So subject-verb agreement, the general is correct. In terms of use of the word commend, meaning to praise, is still correct. In terms of structure, linking verb plus past participle form, number 2 hits all the criteria. So tama yung number 2. Very good. So you're seeing the answer. I'm seeing the answers na. Number 3, the word for, if you answer this is still correct. We have two options. We can attach the word, two prepositions to attach. Marami pala. We can also use the word by. But if we have this structure, we either say for or on. If we can choose between the two prepositions. Pero the difference is here. So you say commend somebody for something. So something may refer to the quality, but you can commend a person on doing something. For example, he was commended for his bravery. So for something. Commend somebody, she was commended on her handling of the situation. So any of the two, for or on. Hence, this number 3 is still correct. There is an error. So if you say 5, that's still incorrect. There is an error here. And somebody mentioned earlier about parallelism. That's very correct. So 4 is the erroneous part here. Notice the ones in purple. Valor is a noun. Integrity is also a noun. Promptness is also a noun. But intelligent is an adjective. So in terms of parallelism, it doesn't fit. When you say parallelism, just a brief review, meaning the words in series, the words that appear in series have similar structure. For example, good evening po. My dog not only likes, the parallelism is likes to play fetch, but he also likes to chase cars. Likes to, base form of the verb play and chase, and followed by the noun, fetch, cars, both nouns. Another, every weekend, I do the laundry, do, base form of the verb, followed by the noun, the laundry. Clean the house, clean, base form of the verb, followed by the noun, the house. And play with the kids. Play, base form of the verb, followed by the prepositional phrase. So notice the structure. Similar grammatical structure if they appear in series. Cats, dogs, and birds, all nouns. Same structure. So issue number 3 is in option 4. It should have been for his valor, integrity, promptness, as well as intelligence. All right? Let's go to number 4. Of all the resorts that I have visited, Marina Garden Resort in El Nido is the most perfect place for budget-conscious travelers. What do you think about this statement? Is it erroneous? If it is, which part? If it is not, then key in 5. All right. So if you answered 1, that signals you to recall the lesson on present perfect, have or has visited or have visited. All right. So it's between 1, 3, and 5. I'd say 5 is not the answer here. This sentence is erroneous. All right. So somebody answered 2. Sige. If you answered 1, have visited, it's correct. Notice the word I is paired with have, not has. And recalling the lesson on present perfect tense, has or have, plus the past perfect, plus the past participle form of the verb. Our clue for such tense is this, the one in blue, of all the resorts. So of all the resorts that I have visited, meaning from day 1 of the person's travel until the last, until when he set foot in El Nido. So that's the coverage of the travel. So from day 1 of his travel to a certain resort until the time that he set foot in El Nido. So that's the time frame. So from the past until the present have visited. Let's recall present perfect tense. So to express things that you have done in your life, in your whole life, from when you were a kid until now that you are an adult, from the past until now. She has never studied Japanese. From the past until now, no study of Japanese. To express the number of times that you have done something. How many times I have I have given review sessions for several times. Have given. To describe a recent, to express situations that started in the past and are still true. San Benito, to express. So the rule is more of the first one, to express things that you have done or not done in your life. So going back, of all the resorts from the past until now have visited. I hope I made clear this part. If you answered 2, and I think some of you answered 2, you say in. The confusion is usually on the 3 prepositions of time, and rather place, in, on, and at. Let's distinguish one from another. When we say in, that's when we talk about locations or enclosed spaces. When we say locations, the big ones, country, state, town, in the field, in the room, in the car because it's enclosed, in a box, it's enclosed. So in. What do you think about El Nido? Where does it belong? When you say on, when you're referring to surfaces or you are in a public transport system, like on a plane, public transport, on a train, public transport, on a bus, public transport. Car is omitted here because car is private and also enclosed. So if it's a private transport, it's in. And then surface, on the floor, on the table, on the bench, on. When you say at, more specific locations, where are you now? At the door, at the bus stop, at the side entrance. All right? So in, on, and at. Going back, when we say El Nido, it's a town. Town ba? Province? I don't know. I have not been there. But Palawan is the province, correct? Palawan is the province and El Nido is the town. Tama ba? Or the ano ba? Municipality. So we say in. And budget-conscious travelers, we may confuse it with the hyphenated word, but actually it's not. So you say budget-conscious travelers without hyphen. All right? So 4 is also correct. The best answer here is 3. When we say perfect, there's that's the extreme. Like the word final. When we say final, wala nang ano ba? Final version point 1, final version point 2. That's how I laugh at the naming convention some of my friends use when naming their files. Uh, final document 1, final document 2, final document 3. But actually, those are for our drafts. So when you say final and perfect, that's already the end part. So wala nang most perfect, wala nang most final. It's already the superlative form. Unlike other verbs such as beautiful, such as intelligent, you say most beautiful, most intelligent. But words such as perfect, final, these are already in their superlative form. So it would be redundant if we say most perfect. So what we can do here is to eliminate the word. I've seen the word superlative. Yeah, correct, Ma'am Lars. It's already superlative. And Ma'am Ludria says there's redundancy if we add the word most. So omit it and just say, of all the resorts I have visited, Marina Garden Resort is the perfect place. Number 5. Correct, Ma'am Carrie. The drug lord was expedited from southern Visayas to Makati City and was heavily guarded. What do you think about this statement? Is it was expedited? The rule here first is to point out, look for the agreement, point out the subject of the sentence. Is it to a from, or 3 to, or 4 was heavily guarded? Alright, varied pa rin. How many ba? Majority says 4 was heavily guarded. I'll skip 1. I'll go to 2 and from. So there are 2 places mentioned. The expedition is from Southern Visayas going to Makati City. So the use of the prepositions from this place to another place are correct. if we say four, majority of you say four, this is actually correct. Was heavily guarded. Why? Our subject is drug lord. So, drug lord was expedited, parallel to was. And then the drug lord, since it is being transferred from one place to another, then it must be guarded. How is it guarded? Heavily. Oh, yeah. So, four was heavily guarded is correct. Ma'am Daphne says, if you say expedition, parang sa dagat lang ata yun. Magellan's expedition. Yeah. So, the answer here is one. When we say to expedite, meaning to speed up or to hasten the process. So, are we talking about hastening or speeding up the process? Expedite things? 'Di ba? When you applied for the testing, you want things to be expedited. So, ito ba yung ano, expedite? Pwede din. Let me see. Pero the best word that uh, we can replace this is extra. So it's not expedite, but extradite. When we say extradite, correct, it's transfer. Like when you are being deported or when you are being brought back. So the bringing from Southern Visayas to Makati City is an extradite, more of a transfer. So the best answer we could have is one. There's no expedite. So I just checked in the dictionary. There's none. They say expedite, meaning to make it fast, to hasten, to speed up. But when we talk about in the context of this sentence, it's more of traveling the person from a place to another. So we say extradite. Right? Kumusta ba? Out of 5, how's your score? Number 6. Jacqueline had prepared the table for dinner by the time Edward and their children arrive home. No error. Very good. Sir Simon says 4/5. Very good. All right. 4. If you're getting 2/5, medyo alarming siya. Not a good score. 3 even is not a good score. So it's either 4 or 5 out of 5. So majority of you mentioned arrived because you pointed out the number 1 had prepared. Tama din. If the verb had prepared is correct, then the number 4 arrive should be arrived. Pero that's not the correct answer. Let's see. I'll skip 1. Let's go to number 2. So the word is dinner by spelling and by use. Tama din. Because we're talking about preparing the table. So what's the table, the preparation for? It's for dinner. The use of the word for, correct then, because it's indicative of a purpose. For what? So for the dinner. If you say 3, meron bang 3? Yeah, there's one who say 3. Said 3. So tama din yung there. Kasi nga, we're talking about a family of Jacqueline and Edward, and we are referring to their children, the children of Jacqueline and Edward. So there. So 3 is correct. By structure, number 4 po is correct. let's say here. Now, the clue is the word by that time. By that time. We cannot say arrives because our subject is children. So children is plural, and so the verb is arrive. Why is number 4? Why is number 4 correct? Because number 1 is erroneous. Let's review. Number 1, had prepared is a past perfect tense. So when do we say, when you say has prepared, there's no time there's no time expression indicated, pero our clue is by that time. So something must be done by the time something is done. So that's the structure. It's not has arrived, it's not present perfect tense, because if you use the present perfect tense, it has no other action indicated. Iyon lang. So you say, Jacqueline has prepared the table. That's all. Or Jacqueline has prepared the table several times. Or Jacqueline has already prepared the table. That's all. There's no more arrive to follow as a verb. So it's not has been prepared, it's also not. So you say it, if you use has been prepared, it should have been the table has been prepared by Jacqueline several times. Passive voice. Pero again, if you say has been prepared, the table has been prepared by Jacqueline, there's no other verb to follow it. So you have to omit the rest of the sentence. So this is not. It cannot also be a simple past form kasi there's no specific time in the past that is mentioned. The time expression used is by that time. So let's review past perfect. So past perfect tense. So had prepared. That's why sabi nyo, it should have been arrived. Kasi past perfect plus simple past. To describe an action finished before another past action occur. So, na-finish na ba? Which one happened first? The preparation of the table or the arrival? Richard had gone out when his wife arrived in the office. Now the clue. You use past perfect tense with the following prepositions. When, before, or after. Tatlo lang. Alright? Before the children arrived, Jacqueline had prepared the table. After Jacqueline had prepared the table, the children arrived. Jacqueline, the children, Jacqueline, no, when? The children arrived when Jacqueline, no, when Jacqueline was preparing. So, hindi. So, 3. Before, after. Very consistent. Before and after, past perfect. Sometimes when. Like, Richard had gone out when his wife arrived in the office. So, not a past perfect tense. The subject here, the correct verb here is future perfect. So to talk about an action that will finish before a certain time in the future. So notice the highlighted phrase, by that time. By the time, hindi pa nagaganap. Futuristic. Okay? So, for example, by 8 o'clock tomorrow. So the clue for the use of future perfect tense is the word by, the by phrase. By 8 o'clock tomorrow, I will have cooked breakfast. So by the time I wake up tomorrow, my mother by the time I wake up tomorrow, my mother will have cooked our breakfast. So notice also the pairing. The first verb is in the future perfect tense and the partner verb is in the simple present tense. So going back here, so the clue is by the time. By the time the children arrive, hindi pa nagaganap. Magaganap pa lang. Futuristic. And so it's partnered with the future perfect tense. And the partnership is, yeah, past perfect tense. Let's see. Parang hindi yata by the time yung ano, yung yung past perfect tense. What I know is when, before, after. Let's see. Sorry. I had been to emphasize the result of an activity in the past. I had been to London twice by the time I got a job. Okay, here. So the confusion, no? Mm. So, pero if that's the case, by the time I got a job, so supposedly, dapat D. Sige, let me check. Jacqueline had prepared the table by the time Edward and their children arrived home. Gets. Sige. So, we can look at this statement in two perspectives, thinking about this. Sige. Thank you for pointing out. Thinking about the last rule for past perfect tense. So to emphasize the result of an activity in the past. For example, I had been to London twice by the time I got a job in New York. So the partnership though is past perfect plus simple past form. Intentionally, when I created this sentence, I was thinking about the future perfect tense. So, Jacqueline will have prepared the table for dinner by the time Edward and their children arrive home. So, intentionally, the answer that I would like to get is will have prepared. Pero thank you for pointing out, Sir Christopher and Sir Christopher. So we can also have number 4 being a correct answer. So if we stick with had prepared. So Jacqueline had prepared the table for dinner by the time Edward and their children arrived. Okay? So we can have two options. Kasi pero dalawa sila yung underlined, so we have to be specific with the rule. If we wish to say that something is a result of another, then we say past perfect. Had prepared, that will be correct, and number 4 will be erroneous, arrived. But if we wish to express that something should have been done before another action occur, then it should be future perfect tense. 1 will be erroneous, will have prepared, and 4 will be correct as is. All right? So, two perspectives. Thank you for pointing out. Let's go to Let's go to number 7. So, Sir Christopher says there are 4 clues. So, before, after, when, and by the time. When we talk about past perfect. But if we say future perfect, it's by the time, indicative, followed by the simple present form of the verb. Thank you. Number 7. Tess hardly never stays in a place teeming with big, horrible cockroaches. Or no error ba? What do you think about this item? All right. So far, the lesson on double negatives, there's mastery in you. So everyone agrees it's one. That's correct. So test is in conformity in relation to subject-verb agreement. Test singular stays as form of the verb. Teaming with is an expression, they go together, meaning it's be full or swarming with. So teaming with. And there's indeed a double negative here. Double negative rule on double negatives. Hardly is negative, never is also negative. So only one. All right? So one is the correct answer here. Number 8, Mr. San Juan, our class advisor, doesn't like the idea of us asking for extension of the final submission of our project. No error. We are already at number 8. So number 7 is the erroneous part is 1, double negative. Hardly, never. Omit, never. All right. If you're saying 1, locate the subject first. So if you're doing the identifying errors and you see verbs being underlined, first rule, subject agreement rule. And then second tense. All right. So most of you say 2. Very good. 2 is actually the correct answer here. So when you say 1, doesn't, does, singular, matches with Mr. San Juan, who is also singular. So doesn't. And then we say do, does, did, plus base form of the verb. So we don't say does likes, or do likes, or did likes. We say do, does, did, plus base form of the verb. Does like, do like, did like. You don't say did like, erroneous. So number 3 is also correct, and 4. Number 2 here is the erroneous part. Us asking. The rule is asking verb in an ing form that function as a noun is called a gerund. So a gerund is a verb that ends with an ing but function as a noun. So if you see a gerund, the word before that, the pronoun before that should be in the possessive form rather than objective form. For example, I deeply appreciate you. It's objective. So who who or what do you appreciate? Is it the you, the person, or is it the person's working tirelessly? So in this case, you are appreciating the person's working tirelessly and not the person per se. All right? Let's have another one. Did your mother agree to us having a sleepover tonight? So, to which does the mother agree? Is it to the persons or to the persons having a sleepover? Or so the person's idea of having a sleepover? So, it's more of the person's idea. So you say, did your mother agree to us? Question mark. That's the end. If you use the objective case. But if it's possessive case, follow it with a gerund. Did your mother agree to our having a sleepover tonight? So going back here, it should be idea of us asking is erroneous. It should have been our asking for extension. So 2 is the correct answer. Let's go to 9. Lady Gaga, an internationally renowned performance artist and singer, has been attracting much male fans since the launch of her hit song Poker Face. What do you think about this sentence? All right. So three and then two. All right. So again, let's take a look. So number one indeed is correct. So I say an. We don't say a because I is a vowel. So we use an article a to introduce an internationally renowned artist and singer. If we say to, it's has been attracting. It's present perfect progressive. Has been for perfect attracting ing. Everything that ends with an ing, it's a progressive or continuous form. So Lady Gaga has. So what's the rule for present perfect continuous tense? Express long actions that started in the past and continue until now. So I have been living in Ireland for almost 4 years. 4 years ago, I transferred to Ireland. Until now, I am still living here. So I have been living in Ireland. Let's go back to the sentence. So since, notice the word since. So, since the launch of her hit song Poker Face, until now, Lady Gaga has, not have, not had, has been attracting. So, from the past until the present, the action has been continuing or done progressively. So, number two is correct. Number three is the erroneous part. Number four is still correct. Launch, the launching is spelled correctly. And her agrees with Lady Gaga being the subject, the antecedent. So, number three here is the erroneous part, as you have said. It's a difference between much and more. So much, non-countable nouns, uncountable nouns like sugar, hair, sand, but many for countable nouns like fingers, persons, trees, and so on. So, because we're talking about male fans, you can count how many of them. We say many or more. Has been attracting many male fans or has been attracting more male fans. All right? So, three is the best answer here. Let's go to the last number and let's see how well did you fare in the identifying errors part. The salary of the newly hired secretary is much higher than her predecessor. No error. Is it newly hired? How do you write newly hired? Is it is? Look for the subject. Does the word is agree with the subject? Much higher. How do we write comparisons? Or for her predecessor? Sadly, in number 10, nobody did get the correct answer. So most of you say three. Let's see. When we say one, newly hired, there is no distinct rule as to how this should be written. If when I checked the resources and I looked at academic papers, published essays, so both are acceptable, either hyphenated or not hyphenated. So you say newly hired hyphenated or newly hired without a hyphen are both acceptable. And if you look up the net, there's no standard rule as to speak about the way of writing these two. So both are accepted. All right? So any of the two. So one is correct. If we say is, if you're answering two, this is still correct. The subject is only salary. You will not, if you confuse it with secretary, still correct. Pero the subject here is salary. Salary is ano ba? One. You can make them plural, salaries, 'di ba? So salary singular is. All right. So some of you are answering for already. Much higher. So you say, I am much taller than my nephew. I am much more intelligent than my colleagues. So the word much is associated or attached to adjectives. It's correct. Let's say the rule. So much, if we refer to much as an adjective, you say we mean a lot or a large amount. So if you don't get much sleep, so much describing sleep, which is a noun. But in the case of the sentence, the word much, it functions as an adverb to mean that it is in a great extent or degree. For example, the new car is better on gas mileage. But to emphasize that to a great degree, it is much better. So there's no redundancy. All right? Although better is in the comparative degree, there is no redundancy if you attach it with the word much, because much intensifies the extent or degree. So if we go back to the sentence, is much higher, comparative degree, but to a certain extent or degree, it is much higher again. All right? So to intensify. But Ma'am Mariner says predecessors. So, than her predecessor. Pwede din naman isa lang yung comparison. Okay din naman. So, the secretary's salary is much higher than her predecessor. So if we're talking about two persons, the salary of one and then the salary of another, pwede ding predecessor lang. But what we are after here is the comparison. What is being compared in the sentence? Is it the secretary or the predecessor? So what's the comparison about? Or are we comparing about the salary? Is it the salary of the newly hired secretary or the salary of the previous secretary? So if our answer is the second one, the salary of the newly hired and the salary of her predecessor or the previous, then it should have been this. So this one is erroneous. It should have been this. The salary of the newly hired secretary is much higher than her predecessor's apostrophe S. If we use predecessor apostrophe S, we're referring to the salary of the predecessor, not the predecessor himself or herself. Or we can elaborate it. The salary of the newly hired secretary is much higher than her predecessor's salary. So there, you name the comparison. Salary of the previous and salary of the new one. Or you can also restate it, the salary of the newly hired secretary is much higher than the salary of her predecessor. All right? Is it not already? I don't get what you mean, Ma'am Marinor. Is it not already understood inference? So please clarify, Ma'am Marinor. I can't grasp the question. So either of the three is the correct way of writing the sentence. But to have this one, salary is already, that's why. So to avoid redundancy, the best one, the first one is actually the best option. Okay? So salary of the newly hired secretary much higher than her predecessors. Pero you can still use option 2 or option 3. Basta the comparison is between the salaries, not the salary and the person. All right? Hindi sila parallel. All right? Let's go to the second part. But before that, how did you fare? 10 over 10? Can you share your score, please? If you're getting 6 over 10, for me, it's just passing. But if you're getting a score of 7, 8, 9, better if it's 8 or 9. 7, okay na, okay na. Oh, 4, medyo. So 6 below, medyo not so good. But 6 is even passing. Let's go to the second part. Still in grammar, but this time you have options. There was once 3, medyo very low.